and they're called the Gujaratis. And I was studying the Gujaratis because, as you all know, in my book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power, we talk extensively about culture. And I think it was because I was sitting there with my wife and we were in LA and we went to Universal Studios yesterday and everything else. And I was like, I'm really obsessed with culture and what happens in a culture that builds wealth versus a culture that doesn't build wealth. Like what happens in a culture that's successful and versus one that isn't. Like for example, if you know anything about sports, you'll know that sometimes what a team runs into is that even when they get the best players and the best coaches, they can't win because they have a losing culture. Right? If you're used to losing, then you're not in a position to win. They could give you the best players, they could give you the best of everything, the biggest budget and everything else, and you're just not going to succeed. And so I've been really interested in, what does a winning culture sort of look like, and how do we create that? Because what happens in a losing culture is that you throw away a lot of your resources. You end up just wasting opportunities. And you all know that the word poor stands for what? It stands for passing over opportunities repeatedly, right? So a lot of times when you're not winning, you think it's because no one will let you win. Oh well, every time we build something, every time we create something, they just come and they burn it down, right? Or you might think that you're not winning because they haven't told you what you need to know. Well, they keep the secrets from us. They don't tell us how to go make money. They don't. Well, sometimes it might be because you're given the opportunities, but because you're only trained to sort of see a certain way or view the world in a certain way, you're just the opportunities are literally walking right past you. And I really am convinced, honestly, that this is a big part of what we're dealing with. And what you'll also find is that, just to be fair to us, though, most of the cultures, like the one I'm going to describe to you, the Gujaratis, goes back very, very far. It goes back thousands of years to ancient times. So this is not something they came up with in a couple of weeks. So it does take time to build a winning culture. So what I'm going to do is read some of this to you. But before I read to you, I'm going to not be rude and say hello to a lot of you. I see Akila and Albert and Alicia, Sean. Good morning to you. April West, Atasha, Barbara, Barry, Brandon Butler, Yvette, Veronica, Michael Wilson. Good to see you. Deborah, Andre, let's see here. John Jones, Esther, good to see you. Eric Bennett, Eric Donaldson, good morning, good morning, good morning. There's hundreds of you in here, and so I can't say everybody's name, but I just want to say thank you for joining me this morning. Zalinda, I know you could be sleeping, you could be Netflixing and chilling, you could be twerking, but instead you ain't twerking, you working. So congratulations to all of you for being smart and focusing on your own economic elevation. It will pay off. All right, so let me hop in and point out what I know about the Gujaratis, right? And again, this does not put anybody on a pedestal. It does not mean I think anybody's better than us. But the Gujaratis are known. They're what they call an ethno-linguistic part of India. I don't know a ton about India, to be honest with you, but I know that they're what they call an ethno-linguistic group in India, and they're really known for just making money. They're really known for business. They're known for entrepreneurship. They're known for just really really being great when it comes to economics. And this does not. And this the first point I want to make on this is that this does not come from a business school. They didn't all go to Harvard Business School. This does not come from classes that they take. So you got to understand that the culture will override classes any day of the week. If you got, it's like basketball. If you have a basketball culture in your family where everybody played in the NBA, do you really need a class on how to play basketball to be a good basketball player? No, if you grew up in a family with Whitney Houston and she had her aunt was a singer. Give me her name. She's famous too. I'm sorry, I forget. It's early. I just had my coffee. But her auntie or her mama was really famous. Was it her mama or her auntie? I keep wanting to say Cicely Tyson, but I know that's not right. It's Dionne Warwick. Cicely Tyson doesn't even sing. See, that's how messed up my brain is right now. Dionne Warwick, right? So if you grow up in that family, do you need to go take a singing class to learn how to perform and sing? Don't get me wrong. I'm sure they took singing lessons, right? Maybe that's important. But in terms of just kind of knowing the culture of what it means to be a great singer, I bet you that even without classes, if you got Dionne Warwick and Whitney Houston in your house, and every morning you're going over high notes and low notes and every other note, her mom is Sissy Houston, right? There we go, right? So there's a tradition there. There's a culture. There's a culture of singing at church, and that's why we produce the greatest singers on the planet. So really, my goal would be to kind of help us to become like what Whitney Houston and her family were when it comes to economics. Maybe I want to be the economic version of a Whitney Houston or Dionne Warwick or something, where because we're talking about economics every day, and this is why we created this class, um, because we're talking about economics every day, and because I know these things at a very high level, and we're just having conversations about it on a regular basis, and I'm showing you how to hit those economic high notes every single day, then you're going to go off and you're going to sing so well that all the Clive Davises are going to want to partner with you, and you're going to go out and just conquer the world. Right? Because the thing about it is that it doesn't have to be something formal. In fact, it's better if it's not formalized. It's better if it's very natural. So the Gujaratis, they're known for being really good when it comes to business because they have a business oriented culture. Here are a few things about the Gujaratis. First off, I'll start with the big one. From what I've seen, the estimates are that the Gujaratis own about 40% of all the hotels in the United States. That right there should impress the hell out of you. That's amazing. I'm talking about, and not just the hotels and all that, but I'm sure many of you have noticed that maybe they have a special prominence when it comes to owning all the 7-Elevens, maybe, a few gas stations here and there, stuff like that. And whenever that happens, that kind of wealth accumulation happens, that kind of power happens. It's not by accident. It's not called just because the white man gave them all this money and they were born with a silver spoon in their mouth. No, if you watch how a family like that moves or a group like that moves, they just move different. They do things different. They don't. They look at their resources different. So what I did was identify some variables that can kind of help you understand like what's the difference with a Gujarati versus say us and an African American in a typical African American household. Again, we're great at the things that we're great at. They're great at what they're great at. So the same way that there are things they could learn from us, there are also things we can learn from them. So here we go. Let me formalize some of this for you. Number one, there's a long culture of just being economically elevated within this particular community. It goes back, to ancient times, thousands of years. So really for us, the challenge we have is that a lot of our culture in the last few hundred years was a slave culture, and the slave culture does not create entrepreneurs as readily. It does not create business owners as readily. It creates slaves. We are from a slave culture, and it creates slaves. And if you look around in our community, we have a lot of people that are slaves. What does it mean to be a slave? A slave means you don't have freedom. A lot of us do not have freedom because you got to get up and go to work every day. You have to do what your boss says every day. You don't feel free to do what you want to do in your life. And so our slave culture produces a lot of slaves. I hate saying it. And really, when I think about slavery, I also think about things like mental slavery, the brainwashing, which is very, very deep in media, very, very deep in the educational system. This is a colonialist sort of economy. We are controlled. We are managed by other people. We're managed politically. We're managed economically. We're managed in a way where there are people that have a vested interest in extracting from us, taking things away from us. And that's just what it is. Now, the second thing that they do that creates an entrepreneurial spirit is they have a willingness to take risks. Basically, they're not scared to try to jump into new markets, jump into new fields. They're not scared to go start that business. And I want you to compare and contrast that to a lot of our families. Do you think that there is this enthusiasm toward starting that new business? Do you feel that people are supporting you emotionally? Everybody gets it. Everybody wants to see you win. Or do you think that it's kind of a different sort of energy? And I'm going to tell you, we know what we know what the answer to that question is. In fact, that was a dumb question. If you were in the same room with me, I would not blame you if you were tempted to slap me because that was just a dumb, stupid question. Because we know what it is. We know that there's a lot of fear. We're driven by fear. Traumatized people are driven by fear. They have trauma responses to everything. So the fear keeps you from stepping out of your comfort zone. The fear keeps you from going after that new venture. The fear makes you afraid to walk away from a bad situation. The fear is what keeps you from pursuing what I believe could be and should be your destiny. So that desire to take entrepreneurial risks is something that tends to occur within a culture, but it's also easier to take risks if you're able to get the support that you need to know that if you fall, if you fail, you're not going to just collapse and fall to the ground. You're going to have some people there to catch you. That's where the next point comes in. Community support. One thing the Gujarati community has is they have a community. Their community, what the Gujarati community has that the Black community unfortunately does not have is they have a community. I don't even know if we can use the term Black community anymore because sometimes I don't feel like we're in a community. Don't get me wrong, we have some pockets of good community, but I feel like we've lost community quite a lot. And they have a really tight knit community with tremendous amounts of support. So, what type of support are we talking about? Number one, financial support. We will buy from you. We will loan money to you. We will come and work with you, right? Financial support, very important. Number two, mentorship. I'm going to show you the game. I'm going to break the whole game down for you so that you don't have to figure it out on your own. I'm going to help you out. I'm not going to try to compete with you or take you out or hide things from you. I'm going to give you the game as much as I can so that when I give you financial support and give you the game, you're going to be able to go out here and do great things. How often do we see scenarios where people compete with each other? It's very strange. You know, I can tell you that I sometimes I was really astonished to see people that you know when I started doing more of the financial stuff online, and I was when I was doing it in the beginning, nobody else was doing it, and then other people came along, and my energy was like, well, I'm supposed to help you. That's what I'm supposed to do. And I'm a natural teacher. But you'd be amazed how many people had a really competitive energy. Like we're going to defeat Dr. Boyce by competing with him. And I'm like, why are you competing with me? I'm not competing with you. I thought we were supposed to be be teammates. But a scarcity mindset, you know, in a traumatized community pops off, and then also everybody imitates rappers. So it's like we're the baddest and we're the boldest and we're the strongest, and you're not. And it's like I'm strong. I know I'm strong. In fact, I'm so strong that I don't need to tell you that I'm strong, and I don't need you to tell me that I'm strong. I know that I'm strong, and you're pretty good at what you do. So we should probably work together. You know, I don't think that we have to box it out. Like that doesn't make sense to me. And it was kind of weird, you know. And I guess the only thing I'm thinking about is I remember somebody said this. It was really funny. I saw a guy who was talking about this. These guys that I really respect a lot from Earn Your Leisure, and they're good. They're really cool, and I love watching what they're doing. And one guy goes, "I'm glad Earn Your Leisure came and took over your block because you're just a jerk," and blah blah blah. And I was like, "Take over my block?" I said, "What? Are we drug dealers now? Is that what you've been listening to Rick Ross and he's been telling you that drug dealing is the way to be successful as a black? Like, am I supposed to run up and do a drive-by? Is that what it is? Pop, 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 pop. Right? Is their death, is their demise going to increase my likelihood of success? No, no. The world is big enough for everybody to succeed. We have a tremendous shortage of Black men that understand financial topics at a high level. So we need everybody on board. We need everybody doing this. This is not a competition. I've never competed with these guys. They're younger. They're 10, 15 years younger than me. What Dr. Claude Anderson never competed with me. Dr. Claude Anderson never said, when I approached Dr. Anderson, he didn't say, well, this young guy, he's coming in and he's going to take over my block and he's going to be the new Dr. Claude. No, Powernomics is going to be what Powernomics is going to be. Powernomics is going nowhere. There is nothing I could do ever to erase the significance of what Dr. Claude Anderson has done. And in fact, there is room to gain acknowledgement for what he's done. And then there's room for me to get my acknowledgement too. So when I approached Dr. Anderson, my whole energy was never competitive. I was never thinking, you're the past, I'm taking you out. Well, I didn't think that way. I was like, you know what? You cleared the path for me. And I think that the world needs to hear what you got to say. So let me help you as much as possible. But here's the thing. This is what you got to understand about collaboration versus competition. Just because you collaborate with others, that does not mean you can't also take care of yourself. Just because you collaboration does not mean you're giving things away. Collaboration means you're developing an ecosystem. I pour into you, you pour back into me. So me supporting Dr. Anderson, and y'all know, y'all seen me support Dr. Anderson, right? I hope you all have seen that. If you've watched probably more than 3 of my videos or hung out with me more than a week, you know how much I love this man. I love him like a father. It wasn't like it was all about taking care of him. I had to take care of the Black Business School too. And so, because we had that right energy, I came in supporting him with everything I had. Guess what? He came and supported me with everything he had. And it created a beautiful relationship because I had Dr. Anderson tell me about how many people called him to tell him how much they love Powernomics, but did not contribute a nickel to anything he was doing. And I can proudly tell you that the Black Business School has contributed hundreds of thousands of dollars to the Harvest Institute run by Dr. Anderson, to the Powernomics mission. When I got on the phone with Kanye West and we talked for 12 hours, my number one goal with Kanye was to say, take some of that money that you're spending on your daughter's birthday party and put that behind some Powernomics training camps so that we can train our people on economics at the highest level. I have simple formulas, simple methods, 3-step, 4-step processes that if we got millions of people to learn these 3 or 4 things, it would lift Black wealth by a couple $1 trillion within a generation. I could not talk him into that, but that was my goal. I said, look, if you do this, I don't care. I don't need my name on it anywhere. That's ego, brother. I don't need all that. I don't need that. I'm very comfortable with who I am. I don't want my name on it. We'll put your name on it because apparently you're into the ego stuff. Fine. Put your name on it. We can put your mama's name on it. We can put your daughter's name on it. I'm not putting Kim Kardashian's name on it, but we'll also give Dr. Claude Anderson the credit he deserves, but as long as we achieve the goal. And so what I don't really understand is this lack of collaboration that I see sometimes. And sometimes it's so disappointing. And I had another conversation with a guy. I made a comment. I'm not going to even say his name because I don't. This stuff is. I don't get into that. I don't want to get into that. But I made a comment on his page or something, and he said something about the stock market. I said, "Yeah, my students and I were talking about that today." And he messages me, I don't know who you think you are. Maybe it's because you're a doctor or whatever, but I don't need you talking about you're here trying to steal my students. And I was like, I'm not stealing your. I said, no, you're welcome to come in my platform. I brought me, Julian Gordon, a lot of people, I brought them in. They built entire businesses off of my platform because I know I can share and still be okay. I know that I can share, and you getting sunlight is not going to dim my light. I know that I am here. I'm going to always be here. So really, when you talk about a team, and this is, and I didn't mean to go on too much of a tangent with that, but when you talk about building a team, you can't build a football team if the wide receiver is mad because the running back gets the ball. You can't. You're not going to build a great team if the wide receiver and running back don't both understand that everybody can get the ball and that's going to help the whole team to win. So we don't really always have a team like we should. We end up having this tribalism and this competition. And I really sort of blame the toxic side of hip hop culture because toxic hip hop is built on narcissism, selfishness, a lack of competition over collaboration, all these things. This is why everybody got so excited when they saw Drake and Kendrick Lamar destroying each other's careers. They love that. They like that stuff. And what I would have gotten excited about is to see Drake and Kendrick box it out just a little bit, just enough so we can have some fun, and then come together and say, okay, now that we've done this, we're gonna shut it down and we're going to work together now and do something amazing. That would have been the kind of energy I wanted to see. You never win when you're destroying each other. So anyway, so let's go back to the Gujarati community. They're very tight knit. They support each other. Not that everybody in the community is perfect, but they give each other financial support, mentorship, and business connections. They don't hide the connect. They share the connect. Okay, so let's see, what else do they do? They have a culture of thrift and savings. They love to save their money. They're very conservative with money. Now, again, when you talk about the culture, this is why I get so mad when people say, this is for the culture, this is for the culture. I'm always like, well, what culture are you referring to? Because the culture that I see that's promoted in media, that's supposed to be our culture, is not conservative financially at all. It is not into wealth preservation. It is not into the stewardship and careful stewardship of resources. It is just throw it up, throw it up, throw it up, spin, 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 spin. But buy that new car that they are marketing on BET. Go to the club, put $10,000 in a stripper thong, and then go and buy a bunch of European items from people that don't even like you, acknowledge you, or respect you. That's what I see when I see the culture when it comes to our economics. Being thrifty and conservative is not celebrated on any level, and I hate it. It drives me insane. It drives me crazy. All that flashy stuff is goofy. It's immature. Any black man over the age of 20 that behaves that way is an embarrassment. You should not, I'm not saying you can't enjoy your money. I'm not saying you can't get nice stuff. All I'm saying is this idea that I'm going to just show up and show out every time I do something, to me, that reflects some sort of emotional deficiency on your part. That tells me you need some therapy to know that you are precious and you are valuable, even when you ain't wearing that white European man's label on your ass. Seriously, you're valuable even when you don't have the Coach purse or the Gucci shoes or whatever it is that you feel like you got to spend your last dollars on. You cannot be so emotionally devoid or so emotionally incomplete that people can literally sell you your self-esteem because they're going to drain you financially. Let's keep going here. Another thing about the Gujarati culture is they are big, big, big on education. Education. They go to college, they get degrees in areas like finance, engineering, stuff like that, things that help them build. They expect their kids to make straight A's. They push them to be as educationally efficient and competent as they can possibly be. I want you to look around and I want you to see if education is at the top of our priority list. And I'm not talking about just going to school and getting the degree. I'm talking about going to school, getting the degree, being at the top of your class. Is that something that is really heavily part of our culture? Is that something that we celebrate more than we celebrate everything else? I don't know. I think that what sort of happens is that because our self-esteem is not quite there, we will think that just going to school and just being there, just surviving is good enough. And a lot of times I would see, I had this frustration in college, and maybe I was just built a certain way. I have no idea. I was very competitive because I played a lot of sports when I was young, and I like to win. I'm not a loser. And I remember that I studied really, really hard in college. And I remember I got into a fight with a guy. His name was Pete, and I didn't like him. He was a jerk. And anyway, Pete called my girlfriend ugly, and that just burned me up. But I was about 21, so you know how that is. And I remember that I remember saying to Pete, because I was so mad, I said, look at your grade point average, you dumb MFer, right? That's how I talk. That was so bad of me, right? I shouldn't have said that. And he said something to me that was interesting. He said, well, and I can tell I got him because I got him real defensive. He was backpedaling because I was about to beat him up too. And he was like, well, at least I'm here. At least I'm here. At least I'm on the campus. At least I'm here. And I'm like, yeah, you're here, but you ain't doing nothing while you're here. You're lazy. You're not reaching your potential. Who cares that you're here? Big deal. There's a lot of people that are here. Just showing up to the game ain't the same as winning the damn game. Just saying that I'm on the field, that don't mean you actually are scoring touchdowns. And I'm in my mind, it's like, no, we can score touchdowns. As black men, we can do anything we put our mind to. Especially we think about it. Imagine if you got in a basketball game and your coach is like, you need to play harder. And you're like, well, at least I'm here. At least I'm on the court. Well, if you're gonna just be on the court and you're not gonna try to win, just sit your ass on the sideline. Just go and sit down and go sit with the cheerleaders or something, because you're not trying to be a player. You're not trying to be a competitor. And again, when I talk about competition, I'm not talking about competing with each other. I'm not trying to, I do believe in fighting, but not fighting with each other. My competition is not another black man in that light. My competition is the world. My competition is all the people that believe that we can't do it. My competition is when I was sitting in a classroom full of Asians and Indians and white people, and they expect me to be the dummy in the class because I'm black. No, I'm going to show y'all what I got. I'm going to show y'all what I'm made of. I'm going to show you black excellence. And black excellence in the face of white supremacy is no competition. I really believe that. I believe that when we show up and we really show out in that regard. Like we show in a way that's substantive. We're not showing out with the superficial and the fake. The superficial and the fake is when I show out and I think it's black excellence. I remember Diddy did that. There was a video of Cardi B wearing some expensive outfit and he said, "This is black excellence." I said, ain't nothing black, ain't nothing, there's nothing about a $5,000 outfit that indicates black excellence. That's not black excellence. No, black excellence shows up in the form of hard work. Black excellence shows up in the form of excellent parenthood. Black excellence shows up in the form of just unshakable integrity. Black excellence shows up in the form of determination. Black excellence shows up in the form of extreme intellectual accomplishment. That's black excellence. That's what black excellence looks like. It ain't a Gucci bag. It's not a Lamborghini. That's not black excellence. It's not a good job working for some white man somewhere. That ain't black excellence. That has nothing to do with black excellence, in my view, comes from things that are substantive. It comes from the things that God put inside you, that where you got to get up, grit your teeth, and bust your ass and go hard for what you want. That's black excellence to me. Black excellence cannot be purchased at the damn Gucci store. So stop telling me that black excellence, that you have black excellence because you got a nice apartment. I don't care about that. Show me black excellence because you fought through something, you overcame something, because you never gave up, because you taking care of your kids. Show me black excellence when you went out here and you grinded and you built something for yourself and for your family. Show me black excellence when you are taking care of people outside of yourself. Show me black excellence in that regard. Show me integrity. That's black excellence. Black excellence is not. Black excellence is not a Coach purse or a Gucci bag or a Range Rover. That's not. Sorry. Okay, let me keep going. All right. So here's another thing about the Gujaratis that led them to be able to own 40% of the hotels in the United States. They have a lot of family-owned businesses. Their businesses are family-owned and operated. And what happens is that they hire their relatives. They bring their relatives in so they'll buy a hotel. They'll bring their relatives in to help run the hotel, and then they'll save up money, their excess money, because they're conservative. So they generate a financial surplus, which allows them to build that capital base that we've talked about extensively. And then they go and they buy another hotel. That's how they expand. And so think about this though. Now I want you to compare and contrast that to some of our families, not all of our families, but some of them. We don't really kind of grow up expecting to work in the family business. We all grow up saying that if I do really well in school, then some white man will hire me for some fancy important job and I can leave my family. And even if the family members have a decent business going on or a business that has potential, our kids don't want to they don't want to run the family business. They want to go work for white people. That's what they want to do. And that's why a lot of black businesses end up in a graveyard. That's why a lot of black businesses don't survive from one generation to the next, because you have this love affair with white supremacy. You do. You really want to go and work for other people. And so what happens is that even in families where there is a potential to create an extraordinary family business, it's not like we're eager to come back home and work together. It's like we're eager to leave and separate. And so when you separate, you are diluting things. Again, this fist is very powerful. This fist is very powerful. But if this fist suddenly spreads out and becomes five fingers, then it's nothing. If I get into a fight and I show up with a fist, I can win the fight. If I show up with five fingers, all my fingers are going to get broken individually, because no one finger can punch a person in the face and actually hurt them. So basically, instead of being a big mighty fist and using the family as an economic capital base that it's meant to be, understanding that when you got 4, 5, 6, 7 kids, you're sitting on multi-millions in wealth right there. Instead, we instead of becoming a mighty fist, we become five fingers, and maybe we become a slap. Maybe that's it. Maybe we can slap you, just kind of like do a little slap on you, but we can't really fight without the fist. Or, and really, generally speaking, we become five fingers because we're operating individually. So even a slap requires some sort of coordination between all five fingers, and we don't even have the slap. We have one finger is attacking you, and then the next finger attacks you, and then you just break the fingers one by one, and that's good old-fashioned divide and conquer. But the Gujaratis don't do that. They tend to form family businesses, and because they're conservative, they generate an economic surplus, and then they use that surplus to bootstrap and expand and to own more businesses. That's how they got to the point where they own 40% of all the hotels in America. And I saw someone mention the Jackson Five father, Joe Jackson. Yeah, I don't know Joe Jackson in terms of what kind of man he was overall. I've heard the stories about him being tough on the kids. I personally kind of think that we should take that with a grain of salt because I think media tends to vilify any strong Black father that is in a leadership role that brings the family together and has the kind of strong leadership required to do that. Again, I don't know though. I can't justify everything Joe Jackson's ever done, because I'm sure he's made mistakes like a lot of people do, and maybe his mistakes were pretty significant. But if you're going to critique what he did wrong, then you must give him credit for what he did right. If you're going to talk about the bad things he did, then you got to talk about the good, and you have to talk about the fact that without Joe and Catherine working together, there would be no Michael Jackson, there would be no Jackson Five. John Boyd is another person that is in that vein, in that spirit, in my opinion. He runs that group Infinity Song, and Infinity Song, Victory Boyd is part of that family, but all the children are very talented, and they have a very strong family unity that led to the creation of Infinity Song. And Infinity Song is so talented. Right now, they're in Europe. They're selling out shows all throughout Europe. Victory is such a talented singer that Jay-Z signed her on the spot when he heard her sing. And when I heard her sing for the first time, I was like, whoa, oh my gosh, she's that talented. They performed at the All Black National Convention, I think two times. Yeah, two times they performed. And now they're so talented that even without Victory, they took their Michael Jackson and made him solo. And now the other children are touring without Victory, who was kind of their Michael Jackson, and they're selling out shows without Michael. You know what I mean? So it's like imagine the Jackson Five selling out shows without Michael. That's how talented that family is. And what I can tell you about that family is that they are very, very close knit. They're very clear on who they are. John and I have had extensive conversations about how he said, well, as his family becomes more popular, more famous, he said, I need them tethered to their Blackness. So I met this family before they became as big as they are right now. And I remember that was a specific conversation John and I had. He said, one day my daughter is going to be very famous, and I need her to remember the Black community and never let go of that. And that was the formation of our friendship. And now it's happened. Now they're out there. Now they're world famous, and they haven't forgotten who they are. And I just have so much respect for that. And so ultimately, what I want you to pay attention to, though, is that it was the family-oriented nature and spirit that allowed them to say, you know what, my energy is best spent pouring into the family project. That the best way for me to use my time is to pour into the family business. See, a lot of us don't do it. A lot of us will abandon the family business if it gets too hard, or we don't, say, this isn't quite what I want to do. This isn't my passion. I get that to a point, but I kind of really think that there's a disrespect there. There's kind of like this idea that if I'm just sitting here working with my dad and my mother and my brother, that's not as relevant. That's not as real as me working for Nike or Google or Microsoft, right? And I really think that that's a mistake, because if you don't value what you're doing, you're not going to do it very well. If you don't value what you're doing, you're not going to want to be there. You're going, like in order for me to be a good husband, I gotta value being with my wife. I have to believe that being with my wife is the most important thing in my life. I have to know that being in this house is the best place I can be. I have to know that this is the best use of my energy. That makes me a better husband and a better father than if I was a guy who's like, yeah, I'm going to hang out here until I find something better. And I think that's kind of what we do. I think that we sort of do that, right? We'll hang out with each other. We'll work on our little business and our little family business until we get a real job. And then when we get a real job, that's when we all just kind of bounce out. And so what I want you to understand is this. This is something I'm going to say, and I don't know how this is going to sound, but because God's telling me to say it, so I'm going to say it, is you're not kind of meant to be like in a holding pattern waiting for white people to pick you out. You're not supposed to be like this backup substitute that they can lean on whenever. You're not supposed to be the white man's side chick, so to speak. And what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is that you are precious and you are valuable, even if they don't want you. Even you are valuable, even if they've rejected you. Because if they've rejected you, then join the club. I'm a big reject from white America. I am. I've had people make fun of me. Well, Syracuse University didn't want you there. And I'm like, yeah, they didn't. They did. They were really doing everything they could to get rid of me. In fact, I was probably blackballed from academia because of my views. And I had to come to terms with that because it hurts our feelings when white people don't want us. Let's just be honest. We kind of grow up believing that black success is white people validating you. They validate you with, they give you a Grammy over here, an Oscar over there, maybe employee of the year, some fancy little position with a nice title, where you can go on LinkedIn and say, I'm the new executive director of micro widgets at blah 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 white man corporation, and people are like, congratulations, girl, that's good for you. You done made it. You somebody now. You important. It's like, and again, I'm not making fun of anybody that has that position. Some of y'all got those good jobs. I'm not making fun of it at all. But it's like, to me, no, you were somebody before they selected you. You were important before they acknowledged your talent. And even when they stop acknowledging your talent, even when you're punished because you don't fit culturally with what they're doing, you're still important to me. I want to see your value. Again, remember, economic awareness. This is what we do every morning, 10 a.m. We do economic awareness training. Economic awareness is partly implied by your ability to see value even when it's not acknowledged by anybody else. You can see wealth even when there appears to be none. You understand? It's like if I'm a music mogul and I'm looking for talent, I don't need the world to tell me that a singer's talented for me to go hear that singer. I can hear the singer singing on the street corner for nickels and identify the talent as readily as I could if they were on the stage at the Grammy Awards. You understand? I can independently validate what's worthy and what's not. So what I'm saying to you is that I think that sometimes we lack the ability to independently validate our worth without needing, Mr. White Man to tell us that we done made it or to tell us that we're important, right? So when you get that, so I believe, again, this is me speculating, that when somebody gets that promotion or that fancy job and it comes with the nice apartment and everything and the nice car, that kind of says to us like, oh, they must be somebody now because all these other people are saying that they're somebody. And I really kind of feel like you have to have the ability to say, no, I am somebody, whether or not you acknowledge me, whether you acknowledge me or not. And in fact, the reason that this is important is because you lose a lot of value because you give away your best assets. And then they see the value and they take that asset, that same asset you neglected, that you ignored. I mean, think about how many times we have had people in our community who were super talented, super capable, and weren't even acknowledged until somebody else said that it was okay. Somebody else said that they were important. So suddenly we believe they're important. Even Barack Obama. Barack Obama, did y'all know this? Let me tell you this. I told y'all about the time I was with Cornel West for a whole day. When I put out my book, It Takes a Village to Raise the Bar, I did an event in Brooklyn at Medgar Evers College. Cornel joined me, and we spent the whole day together. And I remember Cornel, he told the most fascinating stories. I love Cornel West. He's a wonderful man. And one thing I remember him telling me about a meeting where he and Jesse Jackson Jr. and David Axelrod and Barack Obama and a couple other people met in a hotel room. And the goal was to figure out, how do we get Black people to support Barack Obama? Why won't Black people acknowledge this man because they're so connected to Hillary Clinton? And that's amazing to me. Again, I don't care what your politics are, right? But that's amazing to me considering the history with Obama literally being probably one of the 3 or 4 most popular Black people in America. Years later, everybody loved him by the time the election came around. But there was a time where Black people just were like, other people don't see him, so I don't see him either. And then you all know, tell me in the chat if you know this, do you all know when Obama became popular, when he gained momentum? What had to happen before Black people really came out in droves to support Obama? He had to go win in Iowa. He had to go to white-ass Iowa. And from what I understand, maybe I'm not a political analyst or expert or anything, but it was really Iowa. When he went to Iowa and won in Iowa, that's when Black people really started flooding to support him. Sure, he had Oprah's backing, but I remember him getting the endorsement from Oprah, and Hillary was still blowing him away. Because I went on CNN, and I remember I said this guy Obama. I said Hillary might want to watch out because it looks like this guy is really good. He's articulate, and because I remember I saw his potential. I don't worry about what other people think. I just think about what I think because I trust what I think. And I said, this guy is going to be good. I don't know if he's going to be able to, catch up with Hillary because that was a big gap at the time. But I said, I bet Hillary, if she's smart, she's paying attention to this guy because he's a threat to her. And so lo and behold, it happened, later on. So my point is to say, I don't think that you should wait for other people to validate you or to validate the people you care about. You should validate them first because then you can go and extract the benefits of that relationship first. If they have tremendous potential, you want to spot it before everybody else. It's just like investing. And like investing, remember, I tell you all how people invest the wrong way. People don't start buying stock until the prices start going up, which is too late because by that time the prices are about to start going down. So you don't want to pick a stock after it goes up because now there's a good chance it's going to start to go down. You pick the stock before it goes up. You don't invest when everybody else is investing. You invest before other people start investing. You don't run to the market when everybody's feeling good. You run to the market when everybody's feeling scared. When everybody's running away, you want to do the exact opposite of what the sheep are doing. That's called leadership. That is called confidence. And that is something that I believe is connected to how you feel about yourself. If you don't feel good about yourself, if you don't trust yourself, then you're going to be scared all the time. Life's too short to be scared. Don't be scared. Don't be scared of you. Don't be scared of your destiny. Don't be scared of taking a chance. You got to take a chance. And guess what? When you take a chance, you're going to fail a lot. You're going to fail so much it's going to make you sick sometimes. You're going to have a whole therapeutic process just to deal with confronting failure in a healthy way. I fail all the time, every day. And when I'm really on top of my game, I fail twice as much as usual. Because I know now, and I know this logically, but you don't always know this emotionally because failure hurts. Failure is kind of embarrassing. It makes you question yourself. But what I know logically is that the more I fail, the more chances I'm going to have to succeed. Every failure is a step closer to that first success. So yeah, get out there and fail. You got to do that. The road to heaven really is paved through hell. Hell, you got to go through hell to get to heaven. You got to go through the fire. It's just a requirement. It sucks, I know, but that's the only thing I've ever seen. If you can't go through the fire, then you never get the blessing at the end. All right, so let me keep going here. By the way, really quick, make sure you're on the text list. Text the word morning, MORNING, to 87948. If you text morning to 87948, then you will get notified when we meet up for class and everything else. And also, the other thing I was going to mention to you is that in our store, I think I mentioned that earlier, we do have apparel. If you go to drboycebooks.com, you can get copies of my books. You can get flashcards for kids. You can get workbooks, things like that. So feel free to go to drboycebooks.com if you'd like to take a look at that stuff. And you can use the code word book club, and that'll give you 30% off everything that's there. All right, so a couple more things I'm going to mention about the Gujaratis, and then we're going to finish up here, is number one, or here's another thing. So remember, so with the Gujaratis in India, they own 40% of the hotels in America. We've already established a couple things about their culture. Number one, they're very family oriented. Most of the family members work in the business. They also have a community and a supportive ecosystem where they loan money to each other. They have what they call handshake loans. So they shake each other's hand. They make a loan. They know that the loan is going to be repaid because there's community accountability for stuff like that. And that allows them to grow their economic empire. They also have a massive diaspora, which goes a long way. And so by having people around the world sort of planted everywhere, they're able to sort of make their mark and benefit in all parts of the world. Now, here's a stat about their community that I think is really cool. They own about 22,000 out of the 53,000 hotels in America, which is about 40%. And also, let me see, I have some more notes here. Let me pull up a couple more things so that you can walk away with in terms of things you can implement into your own family culture. Let's see here. They have very strong community bonds. I mentioned that. they're also very adaptable. So they have a lot of cultural adaptability. They can adapt to different business environments. And in addition to being financially conservative, they're very much oriented toward customer service. So the Gujaratis in India, their commitment to customer service goes a long way, because if you serve your customer, then you can sell your product, right? So, and that really is something that has to be sort of discussed in the Black community, because there are times where Black customer service is kind of questioned a little bit, right? You have people that feel like Black-owned business or Black business owners don't respect Black customers, and then you have cases where Black customers don't respect the business owners. So this is something that has to be addressed. Also, you have ethical. They have a commitment to ethical business practices, which actually comes out of their religion. There, a lot of Hinduism, stuff like that. It emphasizes things like honesty and hard work. And the other thing too is that just from a cultural standpoint, hard work is extremely important in the family, and that goes a long way in terms of being able to be successful. And it's, things like persistence and all that. Now, here's the thing about Black people that I think is a huge advantage for you, is that you already know how to work very, very hard. I think Black people are the hardest working people in America, because we were the only ones who worked for hundreds of years for free. And one thing that Dr. Claude Anderson speaks about regularly in his books, Powernomics and Black Labor, White Wealth, is that basically you have a scenario where Black people were trained extensively through various forms of indoctrination to be a very hardworking class of people that were subservient to whites. And also in that subservience, there was this goal of making sure that we never got bigger than our britches and started to compete with whites. So while Black integration was always an incredibly important part of that white agenda, especially we've always been integrated on some level. I would say the 1960s was just a different type of integration, but we were always part of the economy. We were always part of the community. They didn't want us to really go, but they didn't want us to have certain rights and certain amounts of power. So the thing about it is that now we're at a point where that power and that equality is something that you're going to have to actually fight for. It's not something that I don't think is ever going to be given to you through a government program, unless you have the strength and ability to demand that, right? So like reparations, things like that, I support those things, but I think overall, it's going to require a lot of the work is going to have to be done by us in terms of figuring out what does an economically strong culture look like. So to kind of summarize this conversation, I'm going to go ahead. I don't want to overtalk this, but I want to give you some things to kind of walk away with. Number one, never forget how important and powerful family is. Family is really, really critical, but also you, in my view, want to think about family like an institution, where within an institution, you're training people in the institution. You're giving them their values and everything else. And because values are more important than just skills. Because if I have a lot of skill, but the wrong values, then I'm going to apply my skills in the wrong way. So if I know how to shoot a gun, but I have poor values, then I'm going to shoot the gun at the wrong people. Do you understand what I mean? So these values that you establish in the household, that you always support your relatives and you don't steal from your family. I remember my father saying that to me when I was a kid. Or you always want to help your brother, or a family should always stick together. Little things like that, or every Black man should have his own business. Every Black woman should be financially strong and independent. Whatever it is, right? These little values really, really make a big difference in terms of how skill is applied later. Because one challenge that we have is that we have a lot of highly skilled people whose values, they're not necessarily bad, but they're not very pro-Black, pro-community, pro-wealth. You understand what I mean? Doesn't mean that these are bad people. But a lot of times that sense of purpose, really sort of having that family business or family wealth as a core value, as a core purpose, doesn't always exist, right? Maybe the core purpose is I want to be quote unquote successful, and success might be defined by I'm going to get this degree, get this kind of job, make this kind of money, and get this kind of respect from other people, where I think a better core value might be things like financial security. If you have financial security, then you can pretty much do whatever you want in America. If you have financial security, then that's when you get the best opportunity to feel free. When you have financial security, that is when your other aspects of your health are affected, your mental health, your physical health, your relationship health, all those things benefit when you have financial security. So that's why I go back to that point where I was making to you earlier. This was literally a finding that I came to probably in the last couple of years, is that a capital base is more important than a college degree. A capital base is more important than a good job. A capital base is more important than a Grammy or an Oscar. A capital base is that thing that allows you to truly navigate the world as a free individual. And the capital base is best built when it's a family effort that's done by multiple people over a long period of time and transfer intergenerationally. So the beauty of a capital base is that if I build a capital base for myself, I can just pass that down to the kids. So the kids are not roller skating on thin ice. They're standing on something sturdy and solid when they come into the world, which allows them to move a lot differently from those who are stuck. And if you don't know what I mean by capital base, we've talked about this in class, but it's okay. I'll describe it again really quickly. All capital base is resources, wealth that you can use to achieve, to get your income. That your capital base could be shares of stock. It could be some real estate. It could be cash. It could be relationships. It could be intellectual capital, right? All these sorts of forms of capital come together, and that's what keeps you secure. And the reason that a lot of people feel financially insecure in America is because they don't have a capital base. They don't even have $1,000 saved to fix their car, right? A large percentage of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. And we think that that's the norm, but it doesn't have to be the norm. The Gujaratis aren't living like that. Okay, so let's learn from the cultures that are winning and not follow loser culture. And unfortunately, loser culture is heavily promoted to our people. And I think that that's a sin and a crime. Okay, so anyway, guys, I got to get out of here. By the way, if my wife, I have a book called Financial Lovemaking. I don't know if I mentioned this in class, but if you'd like to get a free e-copy of the book, you can go to a page where my wife and I talk about our podcast. We have a podcast called Pillow Talk. So if you go to boyceandalicia.com, that's boyceandalicia.com, you can get a free copy of my book, Financial Lovemaking. I wrote it when I was on the faculty of Syracuse. Also, don't forget that we support these great women that have things to say on Fly Nubian Money, and that happens every single day at 1 p.m. So if you'd like to be a part of that and see what's happening over there, just text the word Queens, Queens, to 87948. Text Queens to 87948. They'll send you a notification when they go live. So anyway, guys, have a wonderful day. God bless you. And I'll see you all tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern. Make sure you're on the text list if you want to get notified when we go live for Economic Elevation. You can text the word morning, text morning to 87948. Boyce TV. Here we are. Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. Donald Trump, it looks like Donald Trump has been hit pretty hard. He was found guilty on all 34 counts of falsifying business records in his first criminal trial, or in his criminal trial. It was the first criminal trial against a U.S. president. This is going to be interesting. So let me read some of what's going on for you. And as you hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, make sure you thumbs up, share, subscribe. It says here that Donald Trump has been found guilty of all 34 counts of falsifying business records in a criminal hush money scheme to influence the outcome of the 2016 election. The verdict came after a jury deliberated for less than 12 hours in the unprecedented first criminal trial against a U.S. president. It marks a perilous political moment for Trump, the presumptive nominee for the Republican nomination, whose poll numbers have remained unchanged throughout the trial but could tank at any moment. Trump was convicted by a jury of 12 New Yorkers of felony falsification of business records, which makes it a crime for a person to make or cause false entries in records with the intent to commit a second crime. He will be sentenced on January 11th at 10 a.m. Eastern. Now, give me a yes or no. Give me a yes or no.